Anyway, good morning. I guess this is becoming pretty routine of doing one of my early morning shows because I'm up actually pretty early. We're getting a rainy morning here, and that'll be sort of kind of part of the topic here. People who are expecting perfection from a third world country are just not going to achieve that state of mind where everything is the way it was, perhaps where you came from, infrastructure and all that great stuff. And if you've been following the weather and you're very familiar with big cities like Cebu City, you're going to see that streets in certain areas are covered sometimes with a couple of feet of water. Yeah, it's not what you hoped for if you moved here and you experienced that and you see all the gridlock and all the problems created by all the flooding out here. Now, they've managed to parlay money together to build these fancy bridges at great cost in the Philippines, and whether or not they're actually improving upon a problem of congestion with traffic and so forth. Whether that's really working, I don't know what the stats are on that. I get the feeling that it's not. Could the money been spent on something better? Such as, of course, the common thing about when people notice whether you live here long time or short time or born here or just visiting here, you'll notice there's a lot of streets that don't even have sidewalks out here. They're very dangerous. This is something we do touch upon every now and then because it's just a reality of actually living out here. Now, if you're going to live in Makati or somewhere like that, it's like you're from some California town or something, and everything seems so, I don't know, American. Sidewalks, everything pretty clean. Well, there's big tax money there in areas like that. There's a lot of wealthy people who live in Makati and places like that. Uh, Beach was at BGC and all that. Well, that's not all of the Philippines. Those are just chosen areas that have been highly developed, and therefore they have the money for this uh, engineering and so forth to construct and to actually make very aesthetically pleasing streets, actually functional, not aesthetically really. That's going to be very useful for anybody who wants to navigate around these streets and go to businesses and possibly, where they might actually reside makes it a lot easier. But it's never been an easy thing. And Cebu, for example, and let's speak for that, it's never been built for the elderly. It's never really been designed. The streets are really very compromising. I mean, you really have to watch at any age. It don't matter what age you are. You have to watch where you are walking because I've many times, I can't count how many times, I'm pretty agile, but a lot of times, I've almost fell, tripped, and so forth. Jerry, we have a new rule on here. I wasn't kidding. It's donations to the show. Anybody who comes on has to donate on the show. They go on a timeout until they actually can donate. I'm sorry, and I know it seems very asinine. You might say it is, but we've come a long way on here, and I don't care if I do monologues anymore with no viewers. At the time, I do my shows, but unfortunately, that's the way it's going to be. So I have to put you on a timeout. Thank you, Jerry, for coming on. And by the way, this is absolutely nothing personal whatsoever. I did a show about this yesterday. I told you we have jumped on the bandwagon in a big way. I'm not a broke person. I'm not so concerned about what I get in super chats that's going to make my day or break my day. But this is just something I've instituted on my channel here. And I know you took the thumbs up off because of that. That's okay or whatever. But that's the way the channel's going to be. If somebody wants to comment on here during the show, they have to make a super chat donation to kind of give me that energy to want to keep on making shows, maybe to make up for lost time, because the majority of the time through the years I've been on YouTube, I've never been monetized, and it's never been about money. But sometimes it comes to a point, Mr. Gerard, that you got to join and jump on the bandwagon and profit just like anybody else does on here. And that is one of the prime reasons that people, unfortunately, but they do shows. And it's not because they want to educate people so much, that they care about people so much. The bottom line of any of this denominator is bringing money into your show for the time that you actually utilize of your own personal time to put on any material at all. So that's kind of what's happening with my channel here. Somebody wants to comment, they donate. That's just the way it is. And I've told straight off to people that if they don't like the idea, they don't have to come to the show. Monologues are fine with me. As I said, for the majority of the time I've ever been on YouTube, it's never been anything where I ever made any money on here. So I've given a lot of my free time, and I don't want to sound like the yellow man, but you know, when you spend as much time as I have certainly spent through the years, giving shows with no remuneration, it kind of takes the excitement and the drive and the enthusiasm to make shows if there's no kind of appreciative viewers out there. And some people might say that's bullshit, Frank, and all that, and that's okay. That's not a problem. But that, unfortunately, is the new uh, policy of my show. That's the new policy here. As I said, don't take it on any personal level whatsoever. It is not meant to be personal at all. Please, I tell all my viewers that it is not personal, and don't take it personal. Okay, okay. I've shortchanged myself for years, spending a lot of time and a lot of oxygen doing shows, and some of them, or a lot of them, that were very informative, educational, and just some good old entertainment and so forth. And I jumped on the platform, and I meant it. I am on that platform like everybody else is. So I'm not being any different than anybody else on here. Okay, except I'm coming straight out with it and saying, Bobo Bobo sister, I guess you're not hearing me here. This is going to be a pay per view show from now on. Okay, that's what's going to be. I give people a warning when they come on. I don't want to go to the speech again, but apparently you didn't hear yesterday's show. That this show is going to be allowing people to comment once they make a donation on the show of any denomination, whatever. I allow them to make comments on my show. It's just the way it's going to have to be. I'm an old fucker now, okay? So, yeah. All right, so you're in like Flynn. There you go. That's simple as that. That's all. Doesn't matter how much you give and all that stuff. It's just that I feel personally, and quite frankly, that I deserve to get appreciation from my viewers for how many years I've been on this, how much I have offered both in entertainment and factual content on my show. There's no reason in the world I shouldn't profit on my show. I'm just being honest. Okay, I could bullshit to you, and I can certainly do that, but that's just the way it is for people that are coming in onto my show. Okay, appreciate that, but I want to get back into topic in here. I knew from the first time I ever came to Cebu, to here in the Philippines, that was one of the first things I've noticed is I don't understand why everything from buildings to businesses to streets and no sidewalks, and everything is broken down. And certainly, I figured there has to be enough money in the budget to be able to make it user friendly. So, if you want to access the businesses in this country, that you need to be able to walk to these businesses. I mean, look at the rain going on lately in Cebu, and I've seen some scenes. I guess some they're carbon, certainly in Mandawi. There are certain areas that really get some bad flooding here, and you can't navigate. It creates gridlock and makes it impossible for people to do business with stores. In fact, stores are getting damaged all the time. I don't know if there's like a city council. I don't know who makes the decisions, the ombudsman or whatever you might call it out here. Who makes the financial decisions on what gets done as far as giving the go ahead to the engineering department to remedy problems in the streets and so forth to make it user friendly to be able to even just take a walk. And sometimes that becomes a really huge challenge to anybody who is going to be walking the streets of Cebu City, especially certain areas that are known to have extremely heavy flooding buildup. And not only that, it's not just a danger to people, not only is it inconvenience to people, but I mean, it's dangerous, okay? It's dangerous. And it also is an inviting sewage coming up, which can contain a lot of, just to say, without getting technical and into a health topic here, it can contain a lot of contaminants that could be, spread a lot of illness around, but they don't think about that. Dogs, cats, other things, they drink this water, they get disease. They could possibly pass on some of that disease to even humans, to certainly other animals. So, all in all, it's a domino effect when you have flooding in any urban areas. There should not be flooding in urban areas, period. None. There shouldn't be. Now, I figure, and this is my way of looking at things, is that if they could afford to build these expensive bridges to Mactan and what they got, total of three bridges going over. Okay, well, I imagine that was a logistical nightmare doing this thing. It did create work for people, but probably a lot more work for Chinese than it did for local people, I think. So I think a lot of people were called in from China, I think. And please correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not always right on statistics. I'm not a statistical person, and I've never claimed to be a statistical person. But the way I see it is if they have the money to build these very expensive bridges to gap one place to another to supposedly relieve, congestion, which my understanding, I don't think it's making too much of a difference for what I understand. And if you want to call that wasted money, I don't know, but I think that it's really not my part to say anything because I'm not a citizen here. I wasn't born here, and I don't have, basically as a foreigner, you don't really have much rights to go walk up to any government office and say, hey man, what the hell are you doing? You guys are behind the times by like 50 years or something. Even our internet sucks in here. Why are we not progressing in this country? That would be the question. It would be a damn good question. Get into the new century, why not make this, a very progressive city like they've done even in Manila. Well, they've taken designated areas and they turned them into California cities. I mean, Makati, all these expensive areas you'll find in Manila. Well, that's high tax areas. A lot of people with a lot of money, maybe perhaps that has something to do with it. As I said, I'm not a logistics or statistics expert or a financial expert, and I don't have any control what the government does with their money. And as a foreigner, and I will always be considered a tourist. I really don't have any say in this at all. I could walk up to a local government office where I live, and I can make suggestions and say, "Hey, I know how you could bring in more tourism here." They're not going to listen to me. They're going to laugh at me. Pretty much. Like Ringo, whatever, Kano. What gives you the right to come to this office and say, "Hey, I know how you can make improvements." They don't care. The fact is, they don't care. Politicians are lining their pockets with money. Let's face the fact. There are a certain amount of budget that is allocated for certain projects. Uh, of course, there is, but they don't always seem to make its way to the project. Does it? No, it does. Somebody's pocketing money. I mean, I might even go back to whatever happened to the Marcos family money that was supposed to be spread to the Philippine citizens, all the riches that the Marcos did. I don't want to get political and I don't want to get in trouble here, so I'm going to be very careful what I say. Uh, I don't know. Wasn't it supposed to benefit the Filipino people? I've heard hide nor hair of that, anything about that, when they supposedly went into Swiss banks and everything else to retrieve the riches of the Marcos regime. Some of it, a lot of it is ill-gotten money and so forth. Okay, politics end right there with the Marcos family because I don't want to wind up in some ditch somewhere cut into little pieces. Yes, you got to be careful about what you also say out here. And a lot of people don't understand when they come out here with all these expectations that, they expect to have all these conveniences and frivolities and infrastructure that they had where they came from. But you're fooling yourself when you think that. It is what it is. We've got a country that is pretty much backwards. Okay? And there's so much corruption out here that, that's possibly part of the reason why nothing's actually being done. Then it makes you wonder, why do politicians even become a politician and get into government and so forth. When there's so much corruption, and they wind up getting corruption. Not all of them, but a lot of them do. When it's a stressful job, who wants to be a mayor? Who wants to be a governor? Who? I mean, I never understood that concept because people get killed because their opinions are different than others, and this is what happens a lot on here. Not on here, but out here in the Philippines. How many times do you hear mayors are being killed? Someone has a difference of opinion. Is the money that good that you want to become a mayor or a governor or a city councilor or a senator or whatever your job might be out here? It's very perplexing to think about this. Consider the danger out here. Everybody has their own opinion about something, and you might get away with that to a point in America. Not, it's not perfect, but here, if you actually go against any policies of any government officials, uh, chances are you may not come out with this in a very nice way because there's always something that disagrees with you. Now, my own girlfriend's dad unfortunately died at a young age, and he was in the service, but then I don't know, over land or something. There were disputes. His ideas and opinions. I think he was kind of a guy that was on his way to possibly being in a council. Anyway, he was met with 11 bullets that ultimately killed him. So, yes, killed his dad. Did die of a violent crime. And fortunately, the people who shot him were all taken care of. Let's put it that way. All of them were taken care of. Amelia or other sources? I don't know. I'm not going to say. Yes, her father was shot and killed. Okay? She lost a father at a very young age. Very unfortunate for her, but a lot of this, or part of it, had to do with politics, personal opinions, and so forth. And you don't have the freedoms you think you have out here, even if you are a Filipino citizen out here, born and bred. I think there's only so much you could say in this government. There is censorship out here. Believe me, there's censorship. And a lot of people know that if you're going to mess with the Philippines government out here, you're going to be met with possibly some feedback, let's call it, that might not be very pleasant. So, I don't know. What do you call a country like this? Militaristic? I don't know. There's a lot of names I could call it, and I won't say it on here. Yeah, the Philippines is a nice place to live, but you have to understand you don't abide by their rules out here. You're putting your life in danger. I'm just going to be straight off with you because not everybody wants to be straight off. You know, believe me, I've met with corrupt people out here that work for some governmental agencies, and I will not discuss that. And there is corruption, you wouldn't believe it, and it all has to do with the peso. And you could get anything done out here at all at your whim, just come up with the money to do it. It's that bad, and you'll have to just trust me on that. Um, yeah. So you're walking down the street in Cebu, you trip and fall. Why, you think you got recourse to this? You're going to go to some government office and say, hey, I tripped and fell. I'm injured. You need to compensate me. Get fucking real, folks. It's not going to happen, okay? Suck it up. Broken leg, broken neck, crippled for life. They don't give a shit. Your money, your pocket, your hospital bills. It's not like in America. You get a little scratch from something. Maybe a piece of fencing was sticking out that you passed by, and you scraped yourself, and right away you get a lawyer or something, and you get some kind of remuneration for the potential scar that you're going to have, or the abrasion that you receive. But this is not America. That is not going to happen here, even remotely. You got to remember that here, as a foreigner, you, my friends, you are responsible for yourself. Don't expect to run to somebody and sue them, the government, or even a property owner. I mean, it's just not going to happen. I have a woman friend who didn't get hit hard, but she did get hit by a vehicle. And she went through a couple of years with this shit, you know, with court, whatever. trying to get this guy to pay for what he did. Okay. She had dizziness from this, and who knows what future possibilities exist of some kind of a physical thing happening to her as a result of what happened to her, being struck. I think, if anything, she wound up with maybe, if she was lucky, 40,000 pesos, which is dirt shit. Okay, it's nothing. You're not going, even in an accident when somebody else is wrong and they got insurance, what do you think you're going to get paid for that? This is not America. You're talking, pennies on a dollar, not even. If you're expecting some kind of remuneration for your injury, it's just not going to be a happening thing. You are responsible for yourself out here in every form and way. Okay, so that's kind of the way it works out here. Uh, ah, yeah, I know. That it just never really works, Jack. It never really works. Yeah, I know he did. That's why Gogo Bobo is going to be able to comment on here. Okay, I kind of told you this. I keep on telling my viewers, please don't take it personally. Even if you've donated in the past, I'm not ignoring the fact that you've donated in the past and it's appreciated. It really is. I'm being so up and honest with you, dude. It really is. But I felt that this channel had to take a turn somewhere. Yes, I know. I know he gave it. Yeah. This, because seriously, I thought about this for a long period of time, and it wouldn't be the first time I ever thought about this. Is that, most people, and 99.99% of people who do or have a YouTube channel, sir, it's for money. Let's just, it's human greed. I'm greedy, they're greedy, we're all greedy. You see, when you put a certain amount of time on your show, and unless you've ever had a YouTube channel before, you'll understand that if you're a regular on here, and I'm as regular as you could get, maybe you're regular, according to how you look at it, but, it is my time, it is my effort. And then you look at other shows and they're making money, and you say to yourself, well, I don't see a reason why I should not be able to benefit from my personal time that I spare making shows on here. I mean, I didn't just, this is not new to me. I've been doing this for well over 7 years. I mean, I don't know, a long time. And it doesn't matter whether you think I have money or I don't have money or anything like that. This has become a business on here. Let's face it. Having a YouTube channel is like having a business on here. And you don't spend elaborate amounts of time and energy and oxygen to do a show and not see appreciation for what you do. Because a lot of people out there, contrary with some people may believe or not believe, is that there are people who are retired that have a lot of time on their hands and they really appreciate listening to shows, especially a very unusual show like mine, that it's very unpredictable what I'm going to talk about, but at least I take the time to not only have a little fun on my show, provide entertainment on my show, talk about what's going on in the community if it's necessary, um, and spend the time to do that. And that takes a lot of time and effort to do so. Um, there are some people that did away with their shows because they got into editing a lot. And they figured I wasn't making enough profit. I was making profits, say, for example, I don't know, I always use Sentai as an example because I just remember Sentai 7. In the heyday, he was pumping out shows all the time, and he didn't have bad shows. I mean, of course, he was quite an interesting character. Didn't always tell the truth all the time, and he kind of a big bullshitter, but people got some entertainment value out of it. And he would get super chats or whatever. Then it got to the point that the editing, wasn't worthwhile because the editing. That's why there's no editing. There's nothing done on my show. It's as raw grassroots as you can possibly get on any show. But I don't want to do a membership thing on there because for my show that ain't gonna work. I'm not gonna have a bunch of people want to sign up for membership on here. I just don't see that. To be honest with you, I'm kind of like, just do a show, and if somebody wants to donate, they donate. Obviously, I can't take a gun and force people to say, "Hey, man, come on, I'm going to go after you and your family." if you don't make a donation to my show. That would be absurd and ridiculous. That would never happen, of course. But I can't force people. And some people don't have the money to send. I also acknowledge that too. But it got to a point, Jack and Gogo, that I had to wind up saying that this is just the way it's going to be after almost 8 years of being a vlogger on here. And I'm not going to go, harp on the shit about what I did to get somebody in jail and how much I spent on a lawyer and that nobody helped me on that and nobody appreciated what I did. I've been through that speech before. It's a very valid speech. Yes, it's a very valid speech. But, yeah. Well, but Jerry, I'm put you on timeout. That's my show, Jerry, and that's the way it's going to be. And you're a cheap ass motherfucker and you never give it to anybody. So that's your problem. You want to get away in life cheaply. That's what you want to do. You don't buy, you rent, you don't contribute to anybody's show. And historically, I don't believe that you ever have, sir. Okay? You're just on a timeout. You're not being removed from the channel. Just to let you know, and as I said, don't take things personal on here. I can't emphasize that to my viewers enough. It is not personal, okay? We're not making it personal. If I should quote some very famous person on here or infamous, you pay, you pay. And if I have to quote somebody else whose, body color is yellow, quotes that my time is valuable, I should be paid for my time on here. It's a business for YouTube to make money, and it's a business for everybody who puts a show on. Do you honestly think these long-running shows that are on here are going to continue to do shows if they were not getting super chat and super thanks and all that shit from their viewers? Then you're very wrong. Then you're not thinking very clearly. They all want money on here. And I got to the point, well, hey, if you're really that interested in commenting on my show, it don't matter to me either way. I do very well on monologues. I don't always need the dialogue. And if you consider my history, if you've been following me for a long time, as most of you have, you'll know again that historically my show never made any money. I was never monetized. And I could have put PayPal on and all that other shit. All the bells and whistles, but I never did that because I was interested in just doing a show. And money did not play into the factor on here. I was one of the few shows on here through the years that were long running that was not chasing their audience for money. Okay? But that's what, let's face the facts. Whether you like it or not, or just have an open mind. You think Philly in the Philippines is not looking for money? You think all these other shows, Big Kevin's not looking for money? You think Fat Man's not looking to get money and donations for his time? Okay, let's just name a show. It don't matter who it is. Even Popeye jumped aboard the bandwagon. Popeye jumped aboard the bandwagon and got monetized, is looking to make money. Okay, so that's where I'm at, Yes, it is going crazy. And G Boone, I'm sorry, I'm not going to repeat myself again. This is a pay-for channel. This is a you pay channel. Anybody that wants to make comments on here is going to have to make a donation, period. Okay? You can share that information with each other. I'm tired of making the same speech. I went over this since yesterday. People we put on timeout, and they come on here and they want to come on, make a payment instead of just hiding them on my channel. I'll let them know. And if they come back with a donation after their timeout, then they can continue to make comments on my show. Like I said, I don't care about how many viewers. I really don't. Okay, it's I get viewers no matter what. I don't get hundreds and hundreds of viewers on my show, but if I can get out to one person with my message, if I'm teaching something, sharing something you could learn from, and one person adheres to the information and utilizes the information I put out on my show, and I've helped one person, then I've done my job. I'm very happy with that. I'm not greedy in that respect. But I think after all the years I've been on here, it's my time to shine. It's my time to shine, bottom line. Whether you agree with me or not, whether you find that offensive or not, that's not something I'm going to control. That's a personal problem. We're here to make money. We've changed the format. We are here. We still are going to do shows if I make no money at all. We're still going to do them. It's just that there's not going to be any dialogue. if nobody wants to donate to the show. There will be no dialogue. There won't be any dialogue. It'll be the same as me disallowing my comment section when I do a live show. It'll be the same damn thing. And if I've done it for how many years now? Shit. What's the difference? You know, nobody gave me any money during those years. I wasn't monetized. And I never incorporated a PayPal on my show because I was what you call a genuine vlogger who only had in mind people's interest along with my own interest in what I talked about. But I've been a fucking informative channel on so many levels. And I have entertained you people. I mean, what is this fucking vaudeville? Had to become vaudeville on here. But there's a certain entertainment factor, and I have entertained even the biggest trolls on here. They love coming to my channel to be entertained, whether they think it's a positive or negative entertainment, or how they want to perceive what they judge to be entertainment, whether they think I'm making a fool out of myself, or whether I got some very valid and interesting topics and information to share with people, or the entertainment that I provide to people. Because, yeah, I could be a funny dude. I do have a sense of humor, absolutely. There's no question about that. I have my moments on here. Well, I've also been very entertained by other people too. And there's some people, some things I've seen, there might be some funny skits people made that I've actually had belly laughs on, even if it was about me. If it was done really well, I actually had some belly laughs on that shit. Oh yeah, I could think in mind numerous videos that people have done actually about me that I thought was so funny that even though it maybe wasn't a nice thing about me, but they did it so well. And, funny is funny, but it doesn't become funny when, of course, they're going to call you a sexual predator or threaten your life or things like that, or tell people that your brother is dead when he's not, or another family member. That becomes almost like a crime in a way. It becomes very serious. And I take these things very seriously. I'm just saying to you that it's my time to shine. It's my time to get a screen lit up. It's my time to get greedy. That's just the way it's going to be from now on. Look, I don't make a lot of money on my show, monetized or not to begin with, but people want to have participation in my chats. That's just the way it's going to be. So get mad at me if you want. Think to yourself, it ain't right. No, it is right. How many people have had shows on here for almost 8 fucking years? How much breath have I and oxygen have I used putting on shows on here? How much personal time, when you consider that life is so freaking short? And it is. To put shows on here, well, I could have been doing something else, but no. I had to inform my viewers about a situation. I had to keep my viewers informed about health issues, supplements, life in general, philosophy, about the earth, the environment, what we're facing. I had so many topics on here that I can't remember. I couldn't remember a fraction of the topics I've talked about on here through all the 8 years I've been on. I'm here to entertain you, absolutely. Whether I'm singing or dancing, that's a different type of entertainment. And I do that too. Or whether it's just being informative on my channel, you are being entertained by it. There's a lot of people who used to put their feet up on a desk, turn my show on, turn the speaker up, used to listen to my show. I've had many people say that to me, that I looked forward to whenever you did a show, Frank, because I've always liked listening to what you had to say. You're not a mean bastard like all these other YouTubers on there, and you have a lot of very valid things that you talk about on your show. Okay, so that's where I'm at. So please understand, I'm not going to cry here. I'm not going to cry if my screen doesn't light up with, I'm over that shit. If it doesn't light up with fucking super chats, that's fine. But I'm going to tell you that to get to comment on my show and allow you for the duration of the show to comment on my channel, good or bad, that you're going to have to put up a donation. And from now on, the donation is going to have to be minimum $5. That's it. I'm even putting that in there. Got away with a 99-cent there, Gogo, and we'll take it. Now, you might find it just to be quite astounding, but what do you think other people are doing? And some people have memberships only. Some people don't allow anyone to just come on their channel. They form memberships. I just don't think memberships would work for my channel. Okay, I really don't. I'm not that greedy. I had Mike Ross, who owes me 50,000 pesos. I told him I'll do the same thing that I did for Pennsylvania Trucker. Put $100 on my screen, all is forgiven, at least in regard to your debt to me for the bet we made on getting somebody in jail. So Mike Ross honed in on this one. wanted to offer me $25. I said, keep it. I'm not that broke. Then I think he came in and maybe offered 45. I said, no, keep your money. It's got to be $100. $100 compared to 50,000 pesos, that's quite a difference. You're getting away cheap. And I'm not broke. I'm not that desperate. Your money is not going to make my meal for tonight. I don't have a problem with that, and I will never have a problem with that, probably for the rest of my given life and the rest of my partner's life. Don't think we're ever going to need food or shelter. We're never going to be in a bad position like that. But this is business. This is showing appreciation for the show. It's for the time I put into this. It's about time that it pays off. I'm sure a lot of people might find a lot of sensibility about what I'm saying here. There you go, G Boon. That's what I'm talking about. What was that? Well, I really don't want to get into doing a members only because that's a fruitless effort. That really would be. We'll consider it sometime. But for now, this is the way it's going to be. Okay. And I'm really sorry about that, folks. I mean, I really mean that when I say I'm sorry, but it actually has come down to that. I think if you consider the abuse I've taken on my own show compared to the, you know, a lot of positive stuff I've put out on my show through almost 8 years. I mean, there's no comparison. I have really tried, and really honestly, tried to be informative to my viewers about just about everything. I try to keep update on events, even what's going on in the local community here with YouTube. Not only that, but we know what's going on here in the Philippines in general, and giving information to people as to what they need and need not to do when they come out here, according to what they're coming out here for, whether it's women or what to expect. I mean, everybody covers that topic, but I try to take a different approach when I talk about this stuff. And I will base it on personal experience, not just hearsay. Well, if you're going to come out here, you should. Look, I've had personal experience with women out here. I've been screwed over a few times, like other people will. I'm trying to help people when it comes to that topic to show them what to do and what not to do on that. But I'm not going to charge a consultation of $50, a $50 consultation, like some idiots like Jasper, who only been in the country for 10 months, or the yellow man who's just totally a fucktard and his information is never accurate and he's always a liar. Who the fuck wants to pay him what, for the privilege of talking to a fucking crazy motherfucker? To say that I talked to him, or like that other idiot that likes to stalk people, mostly the infamous people on here, to say that I actually met him and sat in their living room. I didn't just talk to him, I actually met him. Look at the shit I got from that guy, stalking me, talking shit about me all the time. I don't need this crap, so I have to put a certain amount of control on my channel. And I'm slap happy. Someone comes on here and puts on a rude comment, they're banned from my channel. I'm not going to spend any time and stress with this. I think that works out better that way. This way, I don't have to put up with bullshit. If I don't like somebody's comment, they're off my show. We know a lot of people that do that, don't we? We certainly do. I don't know, it works for them. It'll work for me. You going to school? You going to take a trike? You going to ride your bike? Sure, it might rain again. You sure? All right, well, be careful then, all right? See you later. All right. Have a good day. Yeah. See, that's the courtesy of Filipinos. That's my girlfriend's son. And they always come in and they let me know that they're going to go to school. They show a lot of respect and courtesy. I can't expect that on YouTube. But that's why I have to put a certain amount of control on here. Some of you guys just don't understand it. But if you've been on as long as I have, you will understand it very well. And you might be like, pushed back on this. You're thinking, well, what kind of bullshit is this? You're not that important. I got to pay a super chat to you, Frank. But apparently I am, because you've been following me for how many years. I must represent some kind of importance to you that you have to come to my show and listen to what I say. You probably can't have your fucking morning cup of coffee without hearing a show from Frank. And yes, I've been on that often. And I've been doing my morning shows, which I actually enjoy doing, my morning shows, because this way it gives me time the rest of the day to do things that I really need to be doing. So that's why I figured I'd do an early show on here all the time. And lately it's been pretty much, and I'll give you a good example. I've got 3 thumbs up and there's 22 people watching. This is an example of the disrespect I get from people on here. So in light of that, please understand where I'm coming from. If you can't respect me, not even give me a goddamn thumbs up, I'm only going to show a certain amount of respect to my viewers in regards to who comes on my channel, who gets to talk, and having to put these little stipulations out there that You must do super chats on my channel. $5 is going to be the minimum from now on. You got away with 99 go for today, but $5 because there's a 30% cut that YouTube gets in there that's cutting into my profits. So YouTube is allowed to make their fucking profits on here, allowing me to have a show on here. I want to make my profits. I want to make my profits too. Why should YouTube, Google, why should they profit? And people like myself who run these shows shouldn't profit accordingly, and considering that there's a 30% cut, which is not fair to the people who donate because it's their money and they want to utilize every bit of it. That's why PayPal could come in handy, but this is what we have for now until I make any other further changes on my show, whether to consider a membership, which I really don't think will work for my show. I don't have big enough audience to do that, so that's why we're here with the simple super chats, and we'll probably stick to that for a while. Okay. But anyway, we did start our topic at having to do with the spending in the budget and everything else with Cebu in large cities and why people are not benefiting from governmental money that has the money to make these repairs to sidewalks and everything. You've seen the flooding that goes on in various cities throughout the Philippines, especially places like Cebu, near the market, Colon, all along Mandawi area, and other parts like Mango over in Cebu, where there is intense flooding all the time. There are some streets, for example, if you're going to travel from Constellation or you're going to travel from Carmen or any place like that to go into Cebu, somewhere in between there, you're going to get some pretty intense flooding with heavy rains. And it makes it very difficult for people to navigate. They got to get to work. I used to talk to a gal that lived in, was it Carmen or was it actually, anyway, near Carmen. Oh, Liloan. It was Liloan. And this chick had this engineering job or something, and she'd have to take the public transportation, the jeepneys, and she'd have to leave really early from her house just to get into Cebu. And if it was going to be raining, it'd be after extra early. She'd be in jeepneys where the water is practically up to the entry point of the jeepney. Ridiculous, isn't it? So where's all the money going for this? Where is all the money going to fix the streets and create a drainage system that's going to be workable? Why don't they put the money into that instead of building bridges to gap one place to the other? When, from what I could see or understand, I don't think it's helping at all. I really don't. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not a statistical person and haven't done the research, but I've heard people talk about that. Well, I just do my experience. I see how crowded the streets are in Cebu. How about widening the streets? How about doing that? I mean, anything could make a help with the congestion. But then again, not everything is Makati, the playground for the rich. Jay Smooth, well, I guess if you're making all that profit, you can pay that 50 judgment. Nobody's paying shit. I'm not guilty of anything, dude, and you're off my channel for good. You're not making a lot of money on my show anyway, moron. Yeah, I'm getting rich on here, that's for sure. I don't give a shit. I don't care to talk about legal stuff on my show here. If I'm made to pay something and they find a way to make me to pay it, I'll have to pay it. That's the bottom line. As the law does apply, for all I know, it's been how many months now since it's been deemed on a default decision that I was to owe certain people a certain amount of money. Well, they have to collect it first, okay? And you can't squeeze blood out of a turnip. There are certain laws in place that protect people like me, and especially from people like that who are basically out there to line their pockets and do it in such a disgusting way with lies and so forth, and allegations that were not true. That's as far as we're going to go with that topic. You are off my channel, Mr. J Smooth. Nice try, but no cigar for you, sir. Those subjects are going to be taboo on my show. Period. They're history. They're gone. If I have any issues in my life, I will deal with them accordingly. It's not your problem. It's mine. And whether I have a debt to somebody or not, I will handle it in my own way and means. That's it. That's just the way it's going to be. I have a certain amount of control with certain things in my life. and I will utilize that control over situations that require it. There are legal provisions out there that protect me, as well as the criminals out there that try to profit from me with false allegations, false cases, just the way it is. Both parties pay in one way or the other, but not necessarily. The other party will pay when they go to bed at night and realize what kind of a fucking creep they are, how they try to destroy somebody's life based on false allegations. These religious people, yeah, they got to live with themselves. That's the way I see it. All right, so that's the long form answer to your little hosting there, Mr. J. Smooth. There you go. End of topic on that, Mr. Smooth. That's right. Frampton came alive. Well, I'm coming alive too on my show. And this is the way it's going to be from now on, whether you like it or not. You could unsubscribe. I'm fine with that. I have no problem with that. Okay, you don't even have to make comments on my show if you don't want to contribute. That doesn't mean you have to contribute with each comment. Please don't get me wrong. If I'm doing a show, I am expecting a donation. Flat out. I'm in business now. It's no more Mr. Nice Guy. Well, let me just inform my people about this. They might like to hear for it. Whatever. Well, let me do your dirty job and dirty my hands because there's a criminal on here that deserved to go to jail, and I had to pay 175,000 fucking bucks of my own money to do it. Well, everybody stood around and just, kept their hands clean, although they didn't like the guy either, but they didn't want to help. They didn't want to do shit, but they made premises and promises. 50,000, you get the motherfucker in jail. I've had 3 or 4 people that pledged that, and nobody came through. So sorry if you think I'm being kind of rude or crude with my channel. You can think what you want. This is my payback, okay? And I should benefit 100% on my show. If you don't like it, you could unsubscribe. I don't care what you do. You could hang yourself. But you're not going to comment on my show unless you make a goddamn contribution. Can I make it myself any more clear than that? That's just the way it's going to be. You don't have to like it. I don't expect you to like it. Just understand where I'm coming from on here. And I'll be right back. A break from my sponsor. Actually, let me make a correction of something here. You are going to be sponsoring my show. Bottom line. You're sponsoring my show. I got sponsors. You're going to be my sponsors. The show must go on. That's what they say in Hollywood. Not necessarily. The show does not have to go on, but it will go on if people stop being greedy all the time, if they've done the past fucking 8 years. People start appreciating the content on my show, appreciate that I've been here for you for about almost 8 years. It's payback time. Payment is due, my friends. Payment is due. You pay, you pay, you pay. You pay him, don't you? You pay, you pay. Well, you can start, you pay me. And I think this guy will have a real laugh on that. But he understands the concept, doesn't he? Oh, he sure does. So some other people too. We'll be back. And I've got something else kind of interesting to talk about, actually. Legal matters. And I don't like discussing cases and stuff, but a lot of you are aware that somebody did commit cybercrime, and it was actually on Facebook. And a lot of you are familiar with what's going on. It's not much you don't know about me, okay? Because I'm such an important person. Let's talk about sensibility. Okay, you have a case where somebody committed cybercrime, but it's according to what they did, okay? There's a lot of considerations to make. Has this person been doing this for a long period of time? That'll determine whether or not you want to go easy on somebody and say, hey, I'll drop the 5 counts of cybercrime against you for calling me a sexual predator and for threatening. Under better circumstances, if it was like it wasn't like almost every fucking show they were saying, okay, and already killed your reputation. Now, you're not going to want to be in a position to say, okay, all is well, we're going to get you deported. That's good enough, But sometimes it's not good enough. Now, I really want to discuss my other case, but I'm going to discuss certain elements of this case where cybercrime was committed, where somebody decided to put something on Facebook that was not very nice. I didn't even know the person. We never even knew each other. Decided to put something on there that they shared from some criminals on YouTube. Now, considering this has been going on for a long time, considering the fact they had to pay bail, they had to hire a lawyer, and they have to pay the lawyer every time they go to court. Then is there transportation, inconvenience to come back and forth to the courtroom, and facing the fact that the Republican Act does have punishments that could mean actual jail time. Now, a logical person will say, hey, you did something wrong. Okay. Look at the time you're spending going back and forth to court. Okay. I mean, the list goes on. Considering the fact that this person could very well, if it's deemed by the court to stick to the rules, that you get a couple of years in jail, what's it worth to that person? What is it worth? To avoid jail, to go on with their life, go on with their family. I don't care if you got kids and a wife or any shit like that. You shouldn't say this shit in the first place. But if I was that person, in consideration that they have a wife and a couple of kids, they should be thinking about their future. A formal letter of apology, offer a settlement for this. No, it's not all about money. It's about what they did. But I do have a heart. And I don't really want to see a man with a couple of children who's married go to jail for a couple of years for something they did. But you see, I didn't commit the crime. They did, okay? There has to be some kind of punishment for what people do. Make sense? Of course it does. I could be a hard-ass nose, and it may have to be that. I could say to that person today, look, or the next court hearing, whatever. I could say, look, in consideration of his expenses, in consideration of the fact that according to the Republican Act, if you commit a cyber crime, that there could be large fines that I wouldn't get, the government gets. I'm being represented basically by a prosecutor, okay? But he has to have a lawyer that he has to pay the lawyer, okay? I mean, look, if I was in this guy's shoes, this is what I'd be thinking. And it's logical thinking. Look at the time I put into this already. I want this over with. Can't come back and forth to court. I already had to hire a lawyer. How much did that cost me? My time going back and forth to the courts. The fact that the judge could put down the gavel and say you got 2 years in fucking prison. If they stick by the very guidelines that they put out, the crimes, the sentencing that fits the crime. The Republican Act on Cybercrime, 10175, does stipulate that there could be jail time for something like that. They're actually very serious about this in the Philippines, whether you know that or not. They have to follow their own rules, okay? I got hurt, and so did my girlfriend, for what this particular man said, all right? Reputation is a big thing. It's big. You have to live where you live, and when people say horrible things about you, it will affect you, affect your family, affect your life. What's that word? Now, I could stick to my guns and say, let the court do what they want, put the motherfucker in jail for a year or two, learn his lesson, or it could be other ways of dealing with this. Now, you can deal with this in a way that's going to be cost effective in the long run, or you could just, if you're a good gambler, you like to go to Vegas, roll the dice. Maybe the judge will say, hey, no jail time. You just got to pay fines and pay for Mr. B's expenses regarding this case, and you get away scot-free. But you see, that may not be the case. And this is what a lot of people on here have to think about, because when you commit cybercrime on here, you're putting your life in your own hands. You really want to go to a prison? We got a dude right now that's been in lockup. It's going to be the 28th of the month. It's going to be 5 months already. And that's just for his immigration. And has nothing to do with 5 counts of cybercrime against this guy. It has nothing to do with it. Well, it does have something to do with why he's in immigration lockup. He wouldn't have gotten there if it wasn't for certain evidence that was submitted by my attorney to get him there. He would have got away with another 10 years or maybe forever of cheating the immigration system. We have to pay our immigration fees. Why shouldn't he? We have to pay for our visas. Why shouldn't he? So he committed a crime. But unfortunately, in this country, unfortunately, people, they don't think that way. They don't think of the consequences of our life. But unfortunately for this country, yeah, it is quite possible that an overstayer can go for decades without being caught, because they move all the time purposely. That's what this guy did. But things caught up with him, didn't they? But you don't just wind up in immigration lockup there's so many people that are doing this are not paying their fees. They got paperwork stacked to the ceiling, I'm sure. So you could fall between the cracks. That's what happens. That's what happened in this particular guy's case. But it wasn't for actually putting a real case against this particular individual that you're very familiar with. He would not be sitting in an immigration detention center. I don't believe any formal way that he would be in a situation right now that they would even care. We had to provide evidence that he was an undesirable. We had to provide videos showing and saying the things he did. That, with the efforts of my lawyer, who presented an actual case. It wasn't just cybercrime. For those that don't understand this, there was an actual case put against him just for immigration. That's why he's in lockup. And quite frankly, he would be free as a bird to commit the crimes he's been doing since he's been in the Philippines. If I didn't get a lawyer on this and the evidence of his undesirability was not presented, he would not be in a lockup right now for almost 5 months, going on, what, the 28th of the month or something like that? No, he wouldn't be in lockup if there wasn't evidence presented. So for those people that don't understand how the system works, yeah, you could get away with that for a long time. But on the other situation that I've been talking about involving another individual, he also did a cybercrime, and as such, he was arrested. That took a lot too. If it wasn't for the cooperation of a cybercrime unit called the RACU unit, who actually arrested this individual, he'd be walking free too. Well, he is free. He's not been put in jail, and he had to put up bail money. Okay, all this could have been unnecessary if he never said anything at all. I could have turned my head and said, okay, but I said, enough bullshit. It has to stop somewhere. People have to learn that you just can't get away with cybercrime on here. That's the only way they're going to learn. Now, there are logical ways this particular individual could handle this thing. And like I said, ready money for bail, ready money for lawyer, time and money going back and forth to the courts, stress and aggravation from that, okay? And then the possibility that the judge could put down that gavel. Okay, I've considered all the evidence, and we're going to give you a year or two in lockup, in prison, in jail, whatever. Is it worth it to that person? What would you do if you were in that person's shoes? Would it be better to just say, hey, look, I'm going to admit I'm wrong instead of trying to come up with some phony defense where there is no defense? You either did or you didn't. He could say, well, I thought I was doing the community a favor by calling this guy or putting videos on my Facebook saying that this guy's a predator in the community. See, it didn't work out for this guy either. And it didn't work out for Barry. Neither one of them it worked out. They're paying the price right now, okay? They don't need all this inconvenience. They don't need the possibility of going to jail. They don't want that. And it just, disregarding the fact that they're a family person and all, and they got children and a wife, it don't mean shit. You shouldn't have committed the crime in the first place. How would you like your reputation to be soured and soiled and spoiled? And how would you like that? When you got to live in a community and you come up with something like that on your show that a lot of people watch and they share with other people, you pay. Like my show. From now on, you pay. They shouldn't get away with their crime. Hey, it's taken a lot of my time too. Fortunately for this thing, I didn't need a lawyer. I'm represented by a prosecutor who represents the Republic of the Philippines, fortunately for me, on this. But a decision, one way or another, has to be made. So he's either going to go to jail for his crime. Does he really want to do that? Or does he want to come up with a more amicable solution, give an apology, public apology, and come up with an agreed amount of money? It's really not about the money, because we had a kind of a, what do you call that? Not a settlement hearing. We had to, they do that with all cases. They want to see if you want to just iron the situation out, settle, whatever, agree to something. And I came up with a figure, and they didn't want to agree. Okay. So I told the negotiator, I said, fuck it, let's go to court. Let's the judge make the decision on this. So if it includes that person getting a few years in jail, they did it upon themselves by, number one, doing what they did, but not agreeing to a better solution on this. What defense do you have? You either committed the crime or you didn't. In this case, he committed the crime. And according to the Republican Act Codes 10175, which is known to be here in the Philippines, he committed a crime. It's called a cybercrime. Now he has to pay. You pay. His time, his stress, his aggravation, embarrassment to his friends and other people, regret that he ever posted something like that, a lot of regret. His personal time, going back and forth to the courts. The man got arrested. It's on his fucking record. Does he want to go to jail? I don't think so. If he was a smart man, he would tell his lawyer, say, look, let's end this all. Let's see if we could come up with some amicable settlement on this. Fazio does it. Everybody else does it. Same thing I'm doing on my show. Admit that you committed the crime. Don't do it again. Learn from this, that this stuff is real. Cybercrime is real, and they do enforce these things. And what you say on YouTube especially if it's ongoing. Sure, most people could let a comment go by one time and call you a fucking sexual predator or something. Hey, that was pretty cruel. Don't say it again. That wasn't nice. There was no call for that. When there's no truth to it. Okay, you might be able, maybe be able to turn your cheek on that and say, hey, that was not cool. But if somebody consistently does it, it's not cool. That's why we have somebody sitting in a jail cell facing 5 counts of cybercrime. And each count will carry who knows how many years. And just to get to the point of going to the court, how long does that person have to wait in the jail cell, okay, in an overcrowded court situation, to even get a goddamn arraignment? And that could be 4 years. More. Okay, then let's consider something else. Let's consider how long the trial is going to be. You start off with, I guess, an arraignment, you go on from there, Could be a lot of months in between before you get to your next step. A lot of months in between before you get to the third step. A lot of months in between, maybe years. Was it worth doing what he did? In retrospect, in his mind, was it worth it? Apparently not, as he's finding out. Sometimes, guys, you got to stick to your convictions. And when you tell somebody that's enough and they still persist on doing the same things they've been doing for a long time, when you gave them a chance, you said to shut your fucking mouth. I don't want to hear it again. I've given you fair warning, and I think you got to give somebody fair warning. I think that's important. I've done that. Okay, so didn't adhere to my request. So where is he right now? Is he happy where he is? No. Do I feel sorry for him? No, I don't. He shouldn't have said those things in the first place. Now, with the other situation, it's similar. It's a cybercrime. Absolutely. I didn't make up the government rules on that. The government did. They call Republican Act. They have these codes that pertain to different crimes. And cybercrime, it's usually based under, I think it's Republican Act 10175, and a lot of people are familiar with that because they such good information seekers on here. Should a man pay for his crime? Was it repetitive? Did he just say something once or twice that maybe you didn't like? Maybe you could just pass over. No, it was not that in this one particular person's case. But at that point, I said, fuck this. When the other person did what they did, I said, I'm not showing any mercy. And I'm not. I don't want to see a man go to jail if that's what the court decides. He's got a wife and 2 kids, but how do you learn from your mistakes? How? Sometimes something like this has to happen for you to learn. He shouldn't have said that or posted something like that on his Facebook page to begin with. I don't hate the guy. I don't even know the guy. That's what makes it worse. Someone to come out of the blue and post something like that on their Facebook for all the people to read and share with other people. What was that going to do to my reputation in the very town I have to live in, that he was living in at the time? Then he runs away to make it worse. But he didn't get away with it because I had a pretty good dude who happened to work for the Raku unit that knew his shit. I got him involved with this because the guy left town and he moved to another city. But the guy I worked with in the Raku unit went and found him just like that. How? I don't know. So I had no idea where he went. But I'll be damned. Found the guy. Found him and arrested him. To his surprise, I had to go pay bail, so he didn't have to go to jail. He's got an output of money there. He's now got an output of money for his lawyer, expenses or whatever, going back and forth to the court. The stress of doing so, the stress of not knowing his future, of what the judge is going to make out of this. The judge has to enforce the laws out here. There's no reason to have these Republican Act codes dealing with cybercrime. They have to enact upon them, or else they're just not worth the paper they're written on. So it comes to a point where the accused has to sit down and do a lot of thinking and talk to his lawyer and say, look, we don't have a defense. I know I don't. I either posted that or I didn't. And he did post it. And there's no crybaby reason in the world. Well, I thought I was doing the community a favor. No, you weren't. You weren't doing yourself a favor. You committed the crime. Face up to the fact you committed a crime. Own up to it. I want to put somebody away that has a wife and 2 kids? Not particularly. I'm not that cold-hearted. However, if it doesn't come to something where we decide to settle this out amicably, and we don't always have to put money into the formula here. I could have just kind of let things go a little bit, but when we had this arbitration, that's what it's called, arbitration. You have to go through arbitration, right? Where you sit down with the criminal and you got an arbitrator that would like to settle this without it having to go through the courts and clog up the court system. So you sit down, and the guy was only, 6 feet away from me right there. I looked him in the eye and I told him, I said, look, you don't intimidate me no matter how big you are. This guy was like a wrestler type guy. He wrestled. He wasn't a tall guy. He was more stout. but he was known to get into a lot of fights and trouble in my community here when he lived here. He was a troublemaker, okay? I looked him in the eye and I told him how I felt. I said, what right do you have to put that on your show? The fact that you did that. The fact that you did that, the damage is already done. I said, look, I'm not happy with what you did, but I got to get some satisfaction out of here for damage control. I came up with a figure that was a rather high figure, I must admit. They immediately disagreed on that, both him and his wife. All right, it was a high figure, but not really. What kind of a figure can you put on somebody who damages your reputation? There is no money that's going to resolve that, really, when you think about that. The damage is already done. But in an effort to take this out of the court system that's clogging up the courts, going to be costing him more money each time he has to go to court, the lawyer, personal expenses, whatever. There's always a way of settling this. Not just money. I would also want a piece of paper that gives a protection order to me and my family. I would also want a written apology from this guy, or actually go on his own show on Facebook and put a public apology to me on his Facebook. It's not just the money, folks. It's not just the money. The money is just a way of finding somebody, saying, you fucked up, dude. You got a choice of going to fucking prison for a couple of years or more, or I can resolve this right now. Say, look, you're a family man. I respect that. I wouldn't want that to happen to me. I don't really want this to happen to you. I'm not that cold. But if you can't make an agreement with the person, then you're going to force your hand. Say, okay, and just basically go what the judge is going to say and take your chance. You know, you're a praying man. Are you a gambling man? You think it's going to go in your favor somehow? It could. I mean, I don't see how. Either committed a crime or you didn't. It's already been established that he did. That's why there's, it's going to court. Okay, makes sense. I hope you're learning from this, because that's why I'm talking about it. That what you do on YouTube, you think you can get away with. Even you could even put a show on with a fake name, and you could be under some kind of protected account or something. There's always a way of finding out who you are. If somebody really wants to spend the time and money to do that, if you're one of these nameless, faceless trolls on here, and do you think you could get away with all that shit? I personally think you're fooling yourself. The other person involved, say it's me, I was a victim of someone like that. You think there's not a way you could find out who they are if you really wanted to put the time and money into it? There's always a way. And that's what they got to think about. But they don't think about that. Remember, there are repercussions to everything you do in life. So you understand that, you'll just never get it. So, verdict. What's the judge going to say with this guy? Does he really want to take that chance? Is his lawyer making him really believe that he was doing a favor to the community by calling somebody or implying or putting videotapes on there that were implying that he was a sexual predator? So I got two people in the legal system now for labeling me as a sexual predator in one form or way. But his, well, has some bad elements in there too, besides that. Encouraging people to do harm on me, or how allowing his viewers. This is how we deal with a sexual predator. Oh yeah, he's going to fight that. But if he was an intelligent man who had any level of intelligence, he'd try to get out of this as best as he could. I'll let this whole fucking thing go. Not go, but as I said, public formal apology on his Facebook page, and maybe even further than that. But not to get off this thing scot-free. The damage to me is worth something. For my time to deal with this, for my trips to the courthouse, and for the embarrassment it caused me. Everything's on a dollar sign in the world. The same as this goddamn show now. Same as my show. It's no fucking different. You pay, you pay. You commit a crime, you either do the time or you work out something that will satisfy the plaintiff in a situation. I'm the plaintiff. He's the respondent. You want to go to jail and take that chance is what I'd say. I would say that. Consider the consequences of what you did. You feel lucky? How lucky do you feel? Lady Luck may not go your way. Do you really want to spend time in a disgusting Bicuton prison? I don't think so. So, to my viewers, would you not think it's wise and logical that a person just owns up if he really committed a crime? I'm talking about people who really committed a crime, not hearsay, not a greedy tenant or something like that. I'm talking about an individual that said something that was shared with hundreds and hundreds of other people in the community, that put my life in danger. If people really thought that I was what he accused me of, put my life in danger. What's that word? What's that word? To settle. What is that word? There really is no mathematical figure what it's worth if you had to settle out with somebody. But you also got to be realistic. Does a person have that kind of money or not? But you got to come up with something that will basically put his own situation in a better light and get it over with. Learn from what he did and not do it again to anybody else. But there has to be some satisfaction from someone like me. It's not going to stop what he did. It's already history. No, it's not. But I deserve some kind of remuneration for what he did. And for that, I would tell the court, say, look, got a family, he's got 2 kids. We should have thought about that in the first place. I would tell the court that you don't have to put the guy in jail. Don't even do it. It's not something that I really prefer. As I said, I'm not heartless. And if I was in that situation, I certainly wouldn't want to be put in jail either. There are other ways of settling matters, and actually, this didn't even have to come to that. If he would have simply put a retraction on his show, that would have started off in a better direction. But no, he ran away. He left town. The posse was after him, and the posse found him. The posse happened to be somebody I know very well that works for a cybercrime unit, who was Johnny on the fucking spot on finding this guy's ass when he fled town, him and his wife. And they found him, and they arrested him. Now he's facing these charges. Ask yourself, everyone, is it worth it committing cybercrime? That's the question. Is it worth it just to have your say and to insult somebody on here the way you do on a regular basis? As I said, a couple of times somebody says something, that's bad enough, but according to what they say. And like I say all the time, you can't run into an audience and yell fire in an auditorium, a movie theater, a big nightclub, and yell fire when there's not a fire. Don't expect people to get hurt. It's a crime. You can't do that. The same as this. You can't say something that horrible about somebody on here and on a regular basis or at all. Now, if you were apologetic about it in the beginning or at some point was apologetic. Hey, I've said a few things on here I regret, but you know what? I apologize for it. I won't do it anymore. I've apologized a few times to anyone out of my moments of anger or just being pissed off, and I might have said something I regret saying, but I apologize for it. That's a good way to start. But to consistently come on here and do what you do and not stop doing it only gets you into trouble. I know. Everybody's above the law. I know. They think they are. Well, go ask Mr. Jordan. Okay, go personally go over there and ask him. Are you above the law, sir? See what he says these days. Well, he's still cocky, even though he's in jail. He might say something stupid, as you expect. Probably so. Okay, you guys got my point here. You gotta sometimes do things logically in your life. Apply logics. What's the consequence of something you do, and what is the best thing to do to remedy it? There are ways out sometimes. There are ways out. It's up for this individual to decide. That's my show. And I'm sorry again. People upset that I'm putting certain stipulations on my show, well overdue actually, that in order to comment on my show that I'll make it a pay-per-view type of shit. Isn't everybody else really? Some people do members only. We don't even come on public to let anybody hear them talk about anything unless you have to join their stupid fucking membership, which I think is ridiculous. If you like my show, you donate. I've been on here too long not to benefit like everybody else has benefited on here. And that's a fact. It's time for me to benefit from my material on my show. And if it means less viewership, if it means less donations, I think I'll survive that. Believe me, I'm going to eat well tonight, whether you donate to me or not. That's the bottom line. I'm just making, it's a point, there's a principle to all this, and I hope you understand it. And if you don't, that's okay too. You want to talk on my show, you pay, you pay. You pay, you pay. That's my show.